So good day, everybody. Today, the guest on our business spotlight is Michael Bolger from Beacon Capital. Michael, good morning to you. How are you today?
Hi Tom, how are you? I'm good, thank you very much.
Living the dream, as they
Another
all
rainy
say.
day, another rainy day in Dublin, but sure, look, we keep on smiling anyway.
Well, now at least we know where you're based. You're in Baggot Street, I believe.
Yeah, we're in Baggot Street, yeah. So we're
Fantastic.
sitting here in the office now at the moment.
Very good. So tell the audience here, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. What do I do? I suppose I have a company which I set up in 2015 called Beacon Capital. And essentially what Beacon Capital is I suppose it's a very mysterious entity. It's a platform whereby we finance transactions. And we're like, I suppose when I was working in Grant Thornton for from 2011 to 2015, I was head of operations in there on the personal insolvency division. And as part of that journey, we were doing an awful lot. I would have been sent on secondment to the Insolvency Service of Ireland and places like that, where we would have been developing the insolvency service, the PIAs and the DSAs, the debt settlement arrangements and the personal insolvency arrangements. So got very heavily involved in that whole world, post-crash world, where we were kind of first responders to a lot of the big guys that went down, big developer guys that would have went down, and anybody like, so there was the guy who went down for 100 million, and there was the guy who was just couldn't pay his mortgage, and so kind of immersed in that world. And what I suppose coming out of that after a good few years, that really struggled to get the volumes. And there was various different reasons why that struggled to get the volumes. But one of the main reasons, one of the things that I came out of it from a commercial perspective was a lot of settlements that we would have negotiated. People were struggling to find the money to go and execute the deals. So we might turn around and we might have a developer who went down for 70 million, and we get him a negotiated buyback for 5 million, and he might have a handful of assets that might be worth 8 million, 10 million, and they were a good deal all day long. But he went to his old Bank of Ireland manager or AIB manager who'd been excommunicated, for want of a better word, and it was like, okay, where do I go next? These guys can't answer the phone anymore. Yeah. And then this happened so much, and I was like, right, how do we help these people? Because there's no point in us bringing somebody 90% of the way, because they're only really out when they're out, because there's deadlines on these settlement agreements. So hence the reason why I decided that I'd start looking where the pockets of money were, because money was the final ingredient that was needed to get them over that.
It helps.
Yeah. Well, without the cash, they weren't going to get it. They weren't going to get out. We weren't going to close that deal.
Yeah. So just to recap, just to be clarified then, so you're kind of a middleman in the middle of thing where you act in settlement issues, but you also have access to capital funding for businesses. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I figured that I would have worked really closely with a lot of the bad banks over the years, obviously with given my role. So I would have had good access in around the back of the bad bank world. So if somebody needed a phone call to kind of cut a deal, I was very trusted on that side of the fence. But ultimately, the missing ingredient and the 80% ingredient, or maybe the 70% ingredient, is the cash. You need to be able to perform, and what they want is money, right? So you need to be able to turn up with that 3 million euros or 2 million euros or what, 500,000, whatever the case may be. So I went looking for that. And that's what I started to group together then, because it wasn't entirely obvious where that money was. It was a lot of pockets of pension money, high net worths, family office. Back then, there was only 2 or 3 kind of alternative lenders who actually had a big banner out there saying, come to us. And they weren't even out there properly. So 90% of the population wouldn't have known who they were or what they were. So I made it my business to be that guy to kind of join those dots and get out there and kind of meet with the solicitors and the accountants around the country, whom I knew an awful lot of as well, because of I'd done the whole kind of presentation scene for 4 years with the personal insolvency, where I was going around doing town hall meetings for explaining what the PIAs were and the DSAs were, and all that stuff. So that kind of lent itself nicely into that world, you know. And yeah, I found the money. And then yeah, so I started doing deals, and basically people were coming to me then, and well, it was like a self-fulfilling thing, you know. You close one deal, a solicitor hears about you. He's got 10 other clients. He's like,
Fantastic.
when are you down to Waterford next, type of thing. When are you down to Cork next? You know, you were
Excellent.
getting a lot of that, and that kind of grew itself, you know. So
So speaking about that journey that you're on there, I presume it wasn't a straight line of growth.
no, and growth's a funny thing, yeah. So growth is like one thing I've always been trying to striving for is more uh a renewals business and a stability and that kind of stuff. As opposed to, you know, you can spend a lot of time, and I have done this as well over the years. I've spent a lot of time on the smaller cases. You know, there's a real 80-20 kind of thing
Mm.
going on here. You know, if I look at the way that my business has changed over the years. I started off very much in that buyback world where we were coming in and we were buying back, because that was the game in 2016, say, when we started off being active. It was guys were buying back their assets from Cerberus or Goldman Sachs, and you know, interest rates were extremely high. They might have been up at, you know, 18%, depending on what the gearing was. But most of the assets we were going into buy back, you might have a developer on the other side who had it pre-sold to an AHB, you know. So all he had to do was do, and it might have been a 3/4 built building site, you know. So it made sense for everybody. Everybody was
Mm,
like
yeah.
50 quid, but it made sense if you know what I mean. But it then it transpired like the game moved, and the dynamics of the market are changing every 6 months. The dynamics of the market are changing. I'm finding, you know, with all the different challenges that have hit us head on, like the Brexits, the Trumps, the COVIDs, the Ukraine war. The interest rate environment now is probably the toughest I've seen in terms of real impact. Everything else has been kind of brushed off, you know. But
So
yeah,
would you say it's been a modest growth, or would you say it's been a pretty stratospheric growth?
in terms of my business, in terms
Yeah.
of yeah, no, I think we've like I'd say we've kind of we hit a place that we liked about 2018, 19, and we've kind of stayed there.
Mm.
How we've stayed there is it's probably had a different mix underneath it. Like, so instead of doing servicing 40 clients a year, we've probably now brought it down to staying at the same turnover, but servicing 15 to 18 clients a year.
With you back to the 80
And
20,
that,
but the 20% are the ones that bring you the money.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just trying to
Mm,
identify that and trying
yeah.
to kind of go what's working, what's not working, because you can, especially I do an awful lot with the private lending market, right? So there'll be a lot of
Okay.
high net worth money and family office money where people will be approaching me looking for loans that they can't. And I analyze the market straight away. Like, so I've got an imaginary triangle in front of me every time somebody
Mm,
comes to me with a deal. And at the bottom, you have the banks and all these low rate guys, which is low risk, low rate, kind of high quality assets, lots of equity. And then you've got the alternative lenders in the middle. And then you've got, I call them the Navy SEALs up the top.
mm,
And if somebody's coming and they're looking for money by Friday, like, there's three
uh-huh.
things that really drive the market. It's speed, gearing, and cost. You know, they're the three big ones. So if somebody's coming to me, there's always one of those that's overriding. You know, I need the money by tomorrow,
Yeah, yeah,
or I need 100% finance, or I want to pay 3%. I'm not going to pay a penny more. You know, and straight away, it's a bit like, I don't know if you've watched that program, Take Me Out. All the lights are going off. You're left with who's still standing here.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's funny like that. But
So you face similar challenges for a lot of businesses. And can I just ask you then, what do you think makes you different to your competitors?
yeah, well, I suppose, like, initially when we kind of started out, we didn't really have too many competitors. But I think the big thing that makes us different to competitors is the fact that we've got so much private money in our armory. You know,
Okay,
like
okay.
a lot of the brokers in the market, and one thing, I'm a regulator with the central bank because I'm a chartered accountant. Under the
Mm,
FCCA, we're central bank regulated. Obviously, that has its own kind of stuff with it, but yeah, so really it's the fact that we've got so many private family office guys kind of plugged in with us. We've never lost a penny. They love us. We love them. There's a lot of trust. We've done 10 deals with all of them, that kind of stuff. So it's it's probably given us an extra edge So if somebody comes to us looking for a deal and they're and they're short, like we've done a deal recently there where a client came with us, he wanted to buy a site and he was short X amount, and we were able to bring in a partner into the deal,
Okay.
you know, on an equity basis and stuff like that. And you know, we're able to bring in a good. We're really able to bring in mezz on certain deals, you know. So a lot of people wouldn't have that cash
The,
event,
the mezzanine finance.
and
Yeah.
they're just using the primary market that's out there, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that either. Like we do that a lot as well. Like, and there's a lot to be said for using the institutional capital that's available. Like, there might be 30 different sources of it out there, you know.
So being known in the market is obviously a major
being known in the
factor.
market, but we also the market's so it's so kind of what you would call it specialized. So if you came to me and you said, I want to build a hotel, or I want money to build a hotel in Kildare, or I want money to build a hotel in Kerry, or I want money to build a hotel in Dublin, there are different sets of lenders.
Yes.
If you're spending over £1 million, it's a different set of lenders.
Yes. Okay.
If
Yeah.
it's under $1 million, it's a different set. So everything's very, very kind of you know, so and I suppose having a vast, we've closed over 300 deals now, we've over 300 million done. So we've got a lot of money out the door that we've brokered, and you know, we've taken personal positions on a few of these deals as well, and sometimes we co-invest, and
skin in the game, as they say. So tell me, what does the future look like for your business and for your industry sector?
Yeah, well, I suppose from a Beacon Capital perspective, the industry, the interest rate environment changes the dynamics. So it's reasonably quiet at the moment, I must say, in terms of you've got a few busy spots, like say the residential development world is busy, the kind of refugee kind of capital is busy. Obviously, that's changed a little bit in the last few months. However, the interest rate environment is going to dictate a lot, because a lot of deals, a lot of people can't transact at the moment because the gearing doesn't permit them to get out alive.
Yeah.
So if somebody is trying to sell something at the moment and they bought it for 1.4 million and they think it's valued at 1.8 million, and it was valued at 1.8 million a year ago, if they go to sell it today, they might only get 1.2 because the fella buying it can only get X amount of gearing and he needs to put in too much equity. So that's kind of causing the problem. So a lot of people who would ordinarily be selling as a normal course are going, oh, I need to hold off until the interest rate environment goes back down, because it really impacts things like the debt service cover ratios, which ultimately impact the gearing that the buyer can get, who's ultimately going to buy it. And, you know, that's where you're going to make your profit.
So tell me, there are some of the external factors that kind of affect your business. What would be some of the potential internal factors that might cause you some challenges?
Yeah, well, we've a pretty slick kind of offering ourselves. We feel we do anyway. Like we've got a very we've been, because we've got so much experience, we've learned a lot of the shortcuts that need to take place. We know exactly. We've got very tight relationships with all the lenders around town. So yeah, I don't see any massive internal factors that are going to block us doing business. Hiring good resources obviously is constantly an issue, you know, getting the right issue. But I think we're in the right sweet spot right now for in terms of where the business is at and how many opportunities we have. We've recently broken into the green tech sector internationally, and we've supported a company over in Eastern Europe. So we set up a distribution platform over there for a number of green tech companies. And this is, I suppose, the beauty of having private equity on board with you. You're constantly analysing and looking at different capital is mobile. So property might be, you know, it might be all the rage one day, but then they turn around and see something else. And can you have a look at this project? And we offer that due diligence service to them as well. And people come to us all the time with different companies and say, do you know somebody who can invest in this company? And we've got an array of clients there that will look at that. So that's fantastic. Really interesting, particularly in the green tech sector at the moment. We're very, very excited about two particular opportunities that we have in Eastern Europe, and we're rolling them out. And we've got a massive platform over there, which is great.
Okay, well, this sounds very interesting. Lots of stuff there. Tell me, going back, because I talk to you all day, but I think this is fantastic. What advice would you give to an 18-year-old you?
Yeah, well, I actually have a nephew who's a 22-year-old me, but they're very different now, aren't they? They just want to make their money on Bitcoin. Drop shipping.
Do you think that will stay up there?
What?
Do you think Bitcoin
Well,
will stay up?
look, I don't want to be negative on stuff like that, but I just can never, I can't understand it. And I'm a bit old school like that. I think if I don't understand it, I just can't get there, you know? So, like, ultimately, it's proven everybody wrong, isn't it? It's up at what, $72,000 or something this morning. Like that's insane. Like, but it's, some people are saying, I was talking to a guy there who sold the property, and I think he's got 2.5 million. He put the 2.5 million straight into it, and he's sticking with it.
Wow.
And I'm like, would you not just,
Take it.
he's up a bit, like, and I was like, would you not just take a bit off the table? No, this is going to 200, and you go, wow, like I don't have that stomach. Maybe that's the old accountant coming out with me as well. But the advice I'd give to a 22-year-old or a 19-year-old me is, or starting out at the moment, is there's a big opportunity. I think the big opportunity is there because I don't think there's too many guys who are getting really stuck into it now. And I think you're going to be one of a smaller bunch, like, that kind of way. Who could
getting into your sector, or
no,
what do you mean?
Getting into business in
getting
general.
business.
Like, I always like to take the course of the trainee accountant, because I think it's a great base, especially if you don't know what to do. You wake up a bit like I did at 23 and you're qualified, and you go, what just happened? And then you go on the pitch for a few years in Australia, and you come back and you're going, right, okay, but at least you got that beautiful platform to tear into, life at a level,
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much indeed for your time today, Michael. It's been a pleasure listening to you and learning a bit more about you and your business. And I wish you every success for the next 8-9 years. And God only knows where Bitcoin will end up by then.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Tom. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.